Organized Sound Podcast, welcome back. And I'm joined by the hosts of This Is It, and we're going to have them introduce themselves.
Hey, how's it going? I am Bradley Harris. I am a co-host. I'm the co-host of This Is It podcast.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Devin Bushy. I am the host of This Is It podcast. Thank you for having us. Thank you for, reaching out.
I'm very glad to have you guys, and I just want to talk about podcasting and networking, and I want to talk a lot about like music stuff too. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm excited to hear your takes on a lot of different things, but I think the best thing we can start with is how'd you guys meet and kind of create the podcast?
Turn on your, turn on A, 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 turn on your, turn on your.
Yeah, definitely. So, me and Brad are from two different parts. I'm from Springfield. Brad is from Windsor. And I got a job at Dick's Sporting Goods about 4 years ago. And I walked in there, and Brad was the first person that I made friends with because, being in a new work environment, it's a little bit stressful, and it's kind of intimidating, to say the least, when you don't really know anybody. So I walked in there, and I was like, he looks like a nice guy. I'm going to go say hi to him. So I said hi, and he said hi back, and we became friends. And then we worked at Dick's
I worked there for 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, I worked there for about.
Yeah, you had a run.
I had a run, dog.
I was there for like a year.
Bro, I feel like
After a year, I was like, yeah, Christmas, this is good. I'm done with this. Black Friday, you don't want to be in retail on Black Friday, let me tell you.
Let's talk about the death of Black Friday, dog. Night and day, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Amazon.
Yeah, that was great. But so anyways, we became friends. We still hang out with people that we used to work with too. So we have like a little group chat. So we still are all in contact with each other. And me and Brad, we're always close to each other. We always bounce ideas off. I knew Brad was into graphic design, and I knew he was creative by nature. And he knew that I was creative by nature too. So 2 years ago, around Christmas time, this puts us at 2017 Christmas. And I was talking to him about, I just released my first book. I put out my first book in June, and then me and Brad talked in like November of that year, and he was asking how the sales were going, how was everything, and like what it was like. And we got into like a real deep conversation. We really connected. Not saying that we haven't before, that it's just there's layers to this, and we got deep.
Made it stronger.
Yeah, and so I ended up thinking about just creating something that I could release every week. I wanted to be consistent with something, and I wanted to create a platform where people wouldn't feel judged, or they wouldn't feel as though they're not better than someone else. They could come on and be their own person and have a place to show their craft. And I was like, who's the best person that I can do this with? Because I knew some people, but I didn't have the chemistry with them like I had with Brad.
So important.
It really is.
The back and forth.
It is, because that's what makes it. Because now we become personalities. We just don't become individuals. You tune into the podcast, not only see the guests, but to also see us as personalities in our nature and what we bring to the table. So I approached Brad with the idea to, let's create something together. And let me tell you, I really oversold this, first of all, because after I said, he was like, yeah, and I didn't hear that. I kept going. I was like, we could create this platform where everybody could do this, this, and that. And let me tell you, this is just a start. I know that. And I just kept going in, and he was like, Devin. Like, I get it. Yeah, I already said yes. So.
He's a good salesman. Give him that, yeah. But, yeah, working with Devin for... How long are we doing this for?
It's our second season.
Year and a half, maybe?
About a year and a half, yeah.
So about a year and a half. So going from that to this, it kind of made sense before. So while I was making the decision to come on or to do this podcast with Devin, I was like, 4 years in Dick's is a long fucking run. It's not a good. That's not a good run. This is not a good.
Easy.
It's just it's.
Except that time Peter Picknelly showed up.
And it's not
necessarily. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like the workplace, but just the work
being in
itself.
retail.
Retail
It's
is like
retail in general.
Jesus Christ.
I've tried.
It's the same
I've
shit
had a
everywhere you
taste.
go. Yeah,
Bro,
it's the
it's-
same
Right.
thing.
Oh man, it
I
is a
hate it.
pillar.
Yeah.
Like
It's
Yeah.
awful.
it's fundamental. Like
Yeah.
no matter where you go, you're dealing with this
People just
same
gotta be
like
nicer.
operational and management hierarchy. Like
Dog,
it's
it-
exactly the same.
Just
I worked
being in
at
the
Club
corporate
Monaco
world.
before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Club Monaco?
Are you familiar with that
No,
brand?
but it sounds
Nah.
really
It's
cool.
like it's an offshoot of the Ralph Lauren brand.
Oh,
but it's a little
okay.
more. The designs are a little plainer.
okay.
But it's like very like classic.
It just has a
clothes.
cool name. I like
Yeah.
the name.
Yeah, it started in Canada and then got bought out.
Oh,
Damn.
that's dope. Where's that? Like New
That
York?
was in Soho.
Oh, okay.
But
cool.
it was like that. It was retail, man.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like when you
Yeah.
say retail, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
retail.
everybody
No,
in
Yeah.
one
no, it's
form or
fine.
another has
I
done
feel like
some
so
type
many
of
people
retail.
have been in the mall.
Yeah.
People just gotta be nicer. Like, at the end of the day, like
Or
that's,
just smarter, please. Just at least smarter. You don't gotta be nice, but just at least think.
go down to aisle
Just
6
think.
and look before you come
Just
ask.
think. Just think. Critical thinking is
Endless.
needed. But pretty much after that, just like, all right, I'm done with this. I wanted to take my graphic design a lot more seriously, so I went pretty much, I guess the beginning part of that whole year of 2017, I was pretty much non-existent. Like I pretty much just went in my bag and just tried to develop something, some sort of base within graphic design that I can build off of. So it took me a bit to figure out what exactly I would fit in, because graphic design, when you say graphic design, it can be so many things. I don't think people understand that. Like especially the creatives that we deal with, the types of styles within a certain genre is astounding. So for example, music. So rap is probably the biggest it's ever been, right?
Oh yeah.
And when people talk about rap or when they critique rap, it's really hard now, because it's not like country when there's one specific sound.
There's
It's
so much sound.
Exactly.
Around.
It's so
There's
much- yeah.
subgenres built into rap, which
So,
makes it really hard.
Yeah, so that was pretty much the second thing in my mind when we were speaking about like the podcast and what it would be. My mindset was, hip hop has never been this interesting before. I want to take a look at why is it this way. Coming with our viewpoints on just finding out who these people are, because that usually dictates what, because in my opinion, I think art reflects life. So just find out like what makes you tick, like like what we said before, like what gets you up in the morning, and come clean. I'm starting to find out like people, like especially at a certain level of ambition, they run in this very specific way. So they're not all like a monolith. They're not all the same type of people, but the reason why the things drive them, that's usually something that lines up. So talking with these people, I knew I'd probably figure out, because that's what I saw in Devin. So when you, no problem, man. But when you see that in another person, it makes you go, okay, there's other people, for lack of a better term, like me out there. So when you see that and you're like, all right, let's see what happens. You got two together, you can go, all right, let's see what happens. And what happens is this world is filled with these type of people. So it's great. I'm glad I made the decision. It wasn't easy. It still isn't easy, but it's like,
This is a
Yeah.
lot of work.
yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Let me tell you, if anybody is out there and like, oh yeah, I could do a podcast.
You
about
can
same
do
thing,"
it.
You can do it.
You
Like
can do it.
100%. There's a lot of work that goes into this.
There's
So much work that goes in. It roughly takes about 10 hours to put out one episode. 10
Right.
hours. That's over the week. If you did it on like a Saturday, that's like 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m. But like, that's a lot of work.
The steps,
Yeah.
and it's tough in the beginning, right? Because that's when you need the reusable assets that you need to make. That's
Yep.
when you have to get all those together, and like launching it is like
100%.
such a bear.
I love building things from a flat surface upward.
Right.
I don't know, I feed off of it. I love creating, designing, and like molding what this could be and building essentially the platform to take it up to the new levels. And that's what like really woke me up in the beginning of the podcast. It kept me up at night thinking, how can I improve this? What can I do to make this better that isn't already out there? And so along the way, we came up with certain things like,
Well, let's start with the name.
Okay,
Where
yeah,
did
yeah.
the name come from?
Okay.
Yeah, we was brainstorming names. And
Oh, yeah, we were brainstorming names for a week.
What are some of the high, like almost but not quite failed names?
it's.
The ones that are still up
I'm-
for
I'm-
grabs
I'm
if
gonna
somebody
let
wants to start a podcast.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay, well,
yeah, you got a long list.
okay,
Go
some
ahead.
of the names I use for different projects I haven't like revealed yet.
Okay, so yeah,
So-
we want one that's public domain.
Creatives Unfiltered was one. I'm not gonna say that one because that's a different project. I don't know. That's the only one I
You
can
can
think
go
of.
ahead.
This is it from the get go.
Yeah,
This is it?
Yeah, he
From
was
the
pushing
get-go.
for this is it.
Okay.
That's why it took a week because I wasn't budging from like
He
this is
wasn't.
it.
and
I was
I
like,
didn't like
yo,
it at first. Honestly, I
like-
didn't like the name. I thought it was too plain and blah. I thought it was unseasoned chicken. I was like,
white guy saying unseasoned
And
chicken.
how did
I
it
know, I
grow
like
on
that.
you?
Brad explained what it could be and
Okay.
what it could mean. But like in the beginning, I like things that are like super memorable.
I
And,
remember
like,
when it was like young and some. This young and something. I was like,
young and creative or something like
It was
that.
like-
I don't know.
like some like
It
soap
was
operas,
so-
yo.
Right,
I was like,
sounds
come
like
on,
this
man.
so
We're trying to
awful.
make a business.
It was awful. But yeah, so Brad went on this entire tangent and was like, yo, this is it. This is what this person does. This is what they want to do. At the end of the day, like, this is their craft. This is it. I was like, damn, that makes sense. We're going to go with that. And so I was like, yep, this is a partnership. I have to be open to new ideas because I'm so used to just working by myself.
Yeah, that's.
And that was something that I had to learn. And that wasn't easy for me, but I'm learning that, me and Brad are putting out a product together. As much as this is my business, this is also Brad's business.
Right. You have to compromise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the things I've been doing for the last couple of months now is if we get business
Keep talking.
Oh, okay. If we get business proposals for, I don't know, to advertise sponsorships or whatever the case may be, I always say, this is a great idea. Let me check with Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Because Brad is also a part of this product. I will check with him and I will get back to you. Because, like I said, I can't go all in if Brad doesn't go all in. He can't go all in if I don't go all in. All in or all nothing.
I think that feeds into my next question, which is, how do you decide on what guests you want to do?
I'll let you take that one.
so-
Because you're the one that came up with this idea.
So pretty much, for lack of a better term, like I was saying before, when you see people who are onto something a little bit bigger than themselves, so you notice those qualities in those individuals, and when you see the work that's attached to them, there's no compromise within yourself when you go to approach them and talk to them about their work. So again, as an example, my main interest being in the music side of things and the cultural side of things as well. Devin being more interested in like seeing people like an Alexa Curtis, like Maya French, people.
I'll explain who those people are. But
Yeah, people of that nature. If you haven't already, check out those episodes. But people like more on like the front end of the business side of things. That's something I didn't really pay much attention to, but I'm glad I did because I'm learning about people that I never really would have thought to, think about. So that was kind of like the idea with the guests is like it had to be someone that if I didn't know about them, I'd still want to hear from them. And it's like vice versa with the music. So to make sure no one was really in it for just for the sake of doing the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, so those two people that we talked about, Maya French created a plant-based protein drink called Koya that's in Whole Foods across the nation. It's in Target and in Stop and Shop. She's on the Forbes list 30 under 30. And Alexa Curtis is a really good friend of mine who has her own show on Radio Disney. She's a teen blogger with her brand Life in the Fashion Lane, but it got transferred over into Alexa Curtis, or Life Unfiltered with Alexa Curtis. That's also her radio show on Radio Disney, and both of these two people are just powerhouses. Like, that's like probably the best way I could put it. And the thing I always say to people whenever we come on is, one, it's an equal opportunity for everybody, for every creative. We're not going to turn you away because we don't think that you're worthy enough.
Yeah, it wasn't
It's
going to be
never
a
been that.
numbers game with us either.
Yeah, we don't care how many people
yeah.
you're following. You can have 10,000 followers because we've had those on, and we can have 100 followers because we've had those on too. What we care about is we know what your craft is. We want to know who you are behind it. kind of like a VH1 behind the music. We want to get to understand who you are as an individual, and like Brad says, like what makes you tick, what makes you wake up in the morning, what drives you, and I want to know why does that keep you going, and I want to see how that brought you to where you're at.
Yeah, and especially with the creatives that we've had on. I remember in like the beginning of this season, we had the discussion episode. So we had there was 5 artists there. So it was DK, Cam Randall, Austin Fair, Pastor Chris, and Von Suave, and it was also Marky Love was there doing the podcast with us because we were doing it at the Mass Live building.
And
so
he's a club.
This
promoter.
is right downtown, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So when we had those artisans, and we pretty much talked to them about the things, because when we first started out the season and stuff like that, we end up asking questions and things of that nature. But we kind of wanted to get an update. You see things on the internet a lot, but you're not really able to get people's personal opinions on a matter. So we wanted to just take those same opinions that we've seen or the same things that we've noticed and just kind of present it to them and then see what their take is on it. Because, on the internet, it can get like a bubble. You know what I mean? Everyone's saying the same thing. So you're not really gaining any information. So we wanted to go in there and pretty much take everyone's viewpoint because they're all 5 really, they're not the same artists.
They're all very talented in their own lane. They all are paving their own lanes within the genre of music that they're all under.
Yeah, definitely. And they have had different experiences that add value to the conversation. So something that a pastor may have not done, DK might have done. Same thing with all the other artists in there, and even for ourselves. So from a consumer standpoint, that's kind of where we were. Marky Love was more from a promoter standpoint since he's ran those sort of events. So you pretty much have all the cogs in the wheel that make that industry work. Just sitting at a table going, okay, asking pretty much the artists, the people, why we show up. You got the promoter, the people, why he pays them to come to his bars and stuff of that nature.
Or on the other side, why they won't have those people there.
Oh, yeah.
That was a huge
that was a
part
good
of the
part of that.
discussion
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
Yeah, so when we spoke with them about that, we kind of came into the rest of the season with a certain view, and it's changed over the course. Of this season, but that's because the people have changed along with it. So we're seeing a lot of things that you wouldn't have seen 6 months ago. You know what I mean? So it's just been really cool to see that evolution within the scene itself in such a short time, I'd say.
And that
it does feel like things are building.
It does.
Like
it
a
does.
wave.
It's very exciting to see. And, that group discussion episode is probably one of my favorite ones that we've done. There's a handful of favorite ones, but I love that one because it brought the discussion forward. And it brought people to the table that are legitimate players. And it allowed them to express what they're talking about or what they want to see happen. And now we said what we wanted to say, and now let's go act on it.
Okay, so I think to follow up on that, I want to hear your perspectives on where you think youth culture is headed and how you kind of want to embrace that going forward. And that's a very free-form question, so you could tackle it in a sense of, do you want to get someone on that does a specific thing that you haven't really explored yet, or something of that nature?
When you say youth, what age group are you speaking about?
I'm talking about ours and then maybe 5 years younger.
So that group, I wouldn't be able to give you a solid answer on that because
I know I feel hella old trying to figure this out. I feel like I'm out of touch a little bit.
Not even.
Do you guys feel like you're young guys?
Well, the thing is, not only that, yeah,
you are.
It's like because I'm 22 at the moment, but I don't live like
a 17-year-old.
That, and there's a big difference between 22 and 17. It'd be hard for me to compare.
You don't think the answer is the same for both?
It wouldn't because.
Well, we can shorten that window. Speak for yourself.
Oh, okay.
Your own.
Again, with youth culture for myself, because I'm looking forward to 30. If I'm honest with you,
wait, really?
Dog, the 20s is where you fuck up all the time and then just learn as quick as possible. I fucked up a lot.
22 is crushing for me.
Yeah, you stayed at Dick's for 4 years.
Dog, yeah, you learn a lot. You learn a lot.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, man. And so you get into the sort of things and you come at it with a higher level of expectation from yourself.
True.
So, and then you start, you get on your way, and then you start looking forward to different things. So like me looking forward to 30 is not necessarily like being 30 or quote unquote old, but appreciating the fact that I'm alive. Yo. Like things that simple, you know what I mean? Only because you can think about it, my life or my upbringing, I've had my difficulties, but it's not that bad compared to like I guess like family members in Jamaica. It's like when you put yourself in comparison to others that you might think have it worse, and then you see their lives and they're doing fine, they're trucking on forward. You kind of gain strength from that. You know what I mean? And they let you know too, like if you go through periods of like self-doubt, things of that nature. You know what I mean? But I'm off on a tangent. But to say about youth culture, I think it goes the way the wind blows at this point because, in my opinion, it's easy to get influenced by things these days.
Very easy.
It's not always a bad thing when that happens when someone's easily influenced. But it's hard to find things that last a long time in this culture. So it's for me to say youth culture. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like I'm kind of past that looking at where it's gonna be. Just take it all in how it is. That's how I see it right now. Just take it how it is because it's not too permanent. And I think the reason for that is because it's not so permanent. You don't really have a reason to care as much anymore. So with the culture itself, like the things that I want to see happen or the things that I'm seeing happen, specifically in our culture. When I say culture, I mean Black culture, because that's the only one I know. So I'll just say, all right, we'll see what it is right now. I like it where it's at right now. If I'm honest with you, I like where it's at. Let's see what we can do to keep it like this. There's other.
I like where it's at too because it feels like creative and it feels open. Did you have any thoughts on that?
And we're finally getting credit most of the time.
I agree with what Brad's saying 100%. Now from like a white culture perspective, I wish my people were more open. I wish they weren't so judgmental, and I wish they were, more open for change. Because, like, newsflash, we're not stuck in the 1930s anymore.
Things are changing
but,
rapidly.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, okay.
Keep going,
Yeah, no, but, like, I wish going forward that, like, people learn how to educate future generations on how to be a nice person, how to be a genuine individual, and how to be true to yourself, and being honest with yourself, and being open with yourself. And that's what I hope that happens for future generations to come, or for the youth culture, I should say. And I just hope things change. Like, the world that we're living in is, like, really weird right now. But, like, from a creative standpoint, I just wish the white culture was more open to arts. As a means of security for financial freedom. Does that make sense?
Right.
No,
doesn't it feel like the arts are kind of at odds? And I think I was talking to my brother, and I was like, his son, my nephew, was kind of like dancing around. He's still very much a baby. And I was like, oh, he's going to be a musician. And my brother, like, has a government job. He's like, no, the hell he's not. And I think the arts still has, like, a very stigmatized lane around it because there's only, like, great success or, like, the starving artist. And it doesn't feel like there's that middle ground of that middle class.
Wait, on that topic though, I think the reason for that is because the arts are the most unpredictable as far as a career goes. So when you look at it from a parent's perspective, because my family, they're immigrants, they come from Jamaica. So a lot of my family comes from, like, specifically St. Elizabeth on my grandfather's side, from Portland, Jamaica. So even in that country, there's two different perspectives on, like, how you're supposed to live your life. So with for my grandmother and my grandfather, like, they've been, like, and my mother, like, those figures in my life. Grandmother, my mom, and my other grandmother, all from St. Elizabeth. Their perspective is pretty Americanized because they've been in the country for so long. Go to school, get the degree, get the well-paying job, get that pension, wherever the case may be, or fill the 401k, and then along with them, like, other financial advice that they have for me, like, you can live a good life in this country we have. Like, so they're building off a model that they know is successful.
Yeah.
So you can't really knock them for that. Like, if your kid is if you want your kid to have the best life, you kind of look at yourself first, and then you see where they can end up. And most of the time, parents choose the safest route because this is the one that they know works. So you can't really blame them for that. But then, like my grandfather's perspective and some other family members, entrepreneurship is something to be valued. It's not easily attainable, but that's because it's so rewarding in some respects. So when I say rewarding, I don't really mean like the financial side. That's not the way I was taught. It was more so the side of freedom. That's what they were really showing us. So, but again, back to your point with like the arts, you can attain that in the arts. When people see that, or when they hear about that, or they think of examples of that art, so they're usually the last thing to think of. And if they do think of it, they're usually thinking of some form of entertainer, like a rapper or singer or something of that nature. Not that that's wrong, but that's just the one that's been most publicized. So you're not aware of the graphic designers, web designers, user interface designers. You're not you're not. That's more of the computer. Yeah, actually, still same thing. You're still creative. That's more of a STEM thing, but even still, with the art side, it's like the other side of the coin. It's kind of like the things that
there's a behind
makes your
the
world.
scenes almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I totally agree with everything Brad says. I was raised the same way on, the idea of like get that job, get the degree, retire, that kind of stuff. And I just started like a real like full-time job and everything. And I called my grandma, and me and my grandma had this entire conversation, and she was like, "Devin, you're never going to find that peace or security within unless you actually do what you love." I was like, "Damn, grandma, you're right." And she was like, "I know I'm right because I never did that. And you don't want to be my age watching your grandkids grow up and being filled with regret or what could have been." And I was like, "Damn, grandma, it's kind of early for this talk right now."
That's heavy.
And she was like, "No, but you need to hear it." And so there comes to a point where your parents obviously want you to be successful in their eyes. They want you to be safe and secured because they want to know at the end of the day that you're being taken care of and you could provide for yourself. But then there comes this other side where, you want to be true to yourself and you want to be comfortable and you want to be secure with who you are and be happy doing what you're doing. And if that means going against what your parents say to fulfill that, then, that's what you got to look within to find. But 9 times out of 10, if you look at a stat, people who work in the corporate world don't really enjoy their job. They'd rather be doing something else. When you get to an age of like 45, 50, the idea of like, oh, this is my dream goes out the window because now you're not providing for yourself. You're providing for your family. So you need to step up and be that individual. But when you're our age, 20s, early 20s, if you don't have anything that is holding you back currently, then, what's the harm or foul in taking that leap into finding what you love?
This is definitely the time.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot.
I think about that too. I mean, we've all had a lot of jobs so far, right?
Yeah.
And I think the people that have advice are the people that have advice for us are a little bit removed from the situation of the current job market. And I think the current job market is a lot of part-time and like freelance work. There's a push away from the imagine like 40 hours a week full time with benefits. Like that's getting rarer and rarer, and you have to work more and more hours just to have it. And so the theme of like the current work world is like, oh, the pay is low. And I mean, I've pretty much just experienced that at every job I've been at since I graduated. And I think that's what makes it so essential to do what you love, because you shouldn't be doing it for the money in 2019 because it's going to be.
I saw a stat that said by the year 2030, freelance work is going to be the highest occupation in the United States. In the United States.
It's going to overtake the corporate salary and the other salary stuff. And I totally believe that. And I think people need to prep for it. I want to quickly get your guys' opinions on college and the value of college, because we kind of flirted with that inside of both of your answers and what your parents were telling you. And do you think that promise of college segueing into a good job holds true or is even something that people should be interested in when you think about how much debt you can accrue from it? So I'll start with you.
Want to go first? Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So to answer that question, I do value education. I do value school. The thing about it is it's an investment, and I think that's something people often don't get when kids are talking about college and things like that. If you're not paying attention to it, you don't understand the value that it can have. So if you end up in a situation where in high school, say you're not really paying attention to your grades, right? You're not really paying attention to the other side of high school, and that's college. And then when it comes up to you, you're just kind of like, all right, this is just the next step. And then you just go into the next step. And then you're just sleepwalking through it. And then when it's all over, you're kind of like, what the fuck is that?
Whoa, yeah.
So that's like the worst.
Real world hits.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario if in college in that respect. Then you're just kind of like, where do you start over at? You know what I mean? Because after that age, it's very hard to get back into school, things of that nature. Not because it's hard to get back in school, but life. Like, you have responsibilities now.
Yep.
So if you go into it knowing what you want out of it, it helps that a lot. So with me understanding that I was more artistic than the average individual, I was like, okay, I can go into some field in the arts and have success, because I knew I at least had the skill set where if I wasn't doing freelance work, and if it just, I have no problem with 9 to 5. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's something where you're just clearly like in it for the bread, like that's when your soul can get sucked out. If it's something where you're inherently good at and you love the work, it doesn't matter if they pay you 8 hours a week to do it or if you do it freelance. I think the only difference between that is how much is your freedom worth type of deal. You know what I mean? But again, back to the point I was making. If you go into it knowing what you want out of it, you can make moves within that to make it work best for yourself. And then you got everything in between. So it's like two spectrums of college that you can experience. So depending on which end of the spectrum that you may be on, that's pretty much what you get out of it. That's, I think, my issue with the American college system.
So I'm going to echo pretty much what Brad said, but I was on the other side of the American college system where I kind of woke up and I was like, holy shit, it's over. I was like, damn, what do I do now? Because I went into college because everybody else was going to college. My mom told me to go to college because it took her longer to get the degree because responsibilities got in the way. So she wanted me to get in and get out right away with the degree. And now, like Brad said, I value knowledge. I value education, and I value bettering yourself. I'll never knock anybody for trying to better themselves. Like, you can't, because they're trying. Like, who are you to tell them that they can't? But, you can take breaks between high school and college. And I really wish that was stressed to me, because I went to a college preparatory school, and they were like, all right, you're going to apply to this, and this one because it looks better on it looks better on paper. And so, just because Jimmy, Billy, and Janet are going to college doesn't mean that you got to go to college too. You could take that gap and you could really figure out what it is that I want to do, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got into a major that I didn't really care about. I just did it because, I liked some of the classes in it, and I had some good grades, so yeah, might as well. And then I went through school, ended up transferring between 2 different schools, and then graduated, and then got a job that I didn't care about. And, let me tell you, life kind of, is rough. But, you can take your time. You can figure out what you like, figure out what you enjoy, and then go into that. And then once you get out of that, then find a job that you really do enjoy with that degree, and it opens more doors for you.
But in some of the cases, that's why we keep getting back to that point. For some people, we do have to acknowledge that it's not that easy of a decision to make.
That is true, yeah.
So I'd consider all of ourselves, or myself and Devin in particular, be lucky that we were able to make this decision early on. Not everyone has that sort of flexibility between what they do. You know what I mean? So it's some instances where people are like, I got to do this. For whatever reason or another, I have to do this for this specific reason at this specific time. So if they may not choose to do it now, luckily enough, in this country, there are institutions in place where you can go back if you need to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. College is an institution. If you look at these things, like Westfield State's been around since 1838. It's 2019. It ain't going nowhere.
Legacy.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not going anywhere.
That's a great point.
UMass Amherst, that ain't going anywhere. Let me tell you, these places are set up in lieu of these situations. You could take time off. Like, everybody's card is dealt differently. Some cases are worse than others, and people need to step away for different reasons. Just know that college will always be there.
Well, I think I should have made that point clear on my end. Like, sometimes it's that option isn't available.
Oh,
I wasn't clear.
okay.
That option isn't available. Like, going back to school is not available, or school is so big of a priority at this time that I have to make this work. You know what I mean? Because it will work out. When they're in school and they know it will work out. But even on the other side of school, I think it does provide value for society. I don't think it's something that should completely disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah, you're right.
We need engineers, we need doctors, we need lawyers, we need teachers.
Oh, 100%. Teachers need to get paid more.
We need to treat our teachers better.
Yeah.
They need to get paid more. Let me tell you, I can't sit down with a bunch of third graders, fourth graders.
But yeah, we need civic servants, people of that nature. We need people that work in our towns. We need
financial advisors. We need accountants, because the books got to stay clean. Like, just everything.
Wow.
Yeah, that was weird. Anyways, keep going.
But yeah, it's not to go to school. And the school shouldn't be a status symbol. You know what I mean? Like how all those people got caught up. All those famous white people got caught up trying to buy their kids into college.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
fucking Aunt Becky.
Yeah, but you know, like, school is a value. You know what I mean? Like, a good friend of mine is going to medical school. Like, he's on his way to Penn State. We're super proud of him. Like, he worked super hard to get to that point. I have another friend who just graduated and got his degree. Super proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
Super motivated me, because I'm still in school. I'm working towards my degree. So it motivates you, because there is value in it. You know what I mean? It's just the worst case scenario of it all is just when you're there just sleepwalking through it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, but that's just anything in life, I think. So again, if I was in a perfect world, school wouldn't have a cost to it. There are plenty of countries that do it.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dog. Do you want us to know or not? Like, you
but
know,
at the end of the day, you get with your pay. Well, you get what you pay for, and it's the investment element.
Exactly.
And there's obviously school for the different price ranges.
Yeah. Well, that's because, like, in America, it's like a retreat. Like, shit. It's like LeBron when he did his 4 years in Miami. In certain aspects, so like Arizona, like all the homies that went to Arizona was not going to class.
No, I got accepted into like Arizona schools when I graduated.
Oh,
Stick.
You did?
Yeah, I got accepted.
Oh shit, I didn't know you did.
Oh, I thought you did.
There was mad party schools in Arizona.
Yeah, there's 2 of them, and I got accepted into both
of
them.
Oh shit, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, the U of A, University of Arizona in Tucson, and then ASU, Arizona State University in Tempe. Damn. And Rob Gronkowski went to U of A. And we know how he is. And then James Harden went to ASU.
Oh, shit. You want to be a Sun Devil?
You got to go with the talent. You got to know what you want when you go there.
Let me tell you,
ain't no wrong with that, man. Ain't no wrong with that.
Nah, they ain't.
The schools are like
I didn't really know that like that. I'm glad that came up. So I want to talk, segue into the networking portion of what you guys do. And kind of just some tips, because I'm sure there are some people I actually hear all the time, like I'm at work and like everyone's like, I should start a podcast, I had this podcast idea. Like, so what are your tips for networking and starting any type of creative exchange?
All right, so you want me to handle the networking thing? Because cool.
Oh, you doing the hot mic too? All right,
yeah,
go ahead.
So if you have a creative idea, act on it 100%, because there's 10 other people that maybe had that idea but aren't willing to take that chance.
Execution.
Do it. Execution is the name of the game in this industry that you're trying to live in. And by the industry, I mean the creative world. Everybody has ideas. Everybody wants to, put their ideas out. Yes, some situations might not be cost effective, but still, take your time with it and find the best way possible to put it out. Because once you put it out, you're going to enjoy it. And people are going to enjoy it as well, and then they want to see more of it. So when it comes to networking, this is where I really found my niche within this entire podcast. Brad has a lot of guests that come up from Connecticut, and he meets that he pushes for the podcast as well, as do I. So it's more of an equal balance. Networking, the thing that I use to network is Instagram, 100%. Only Instagram, nothing else. Just start getting into emails, but they don't really know the emails, so I just slide into the DMs.
Right.
And so how that works is, if you ever look on your DMs and there's like the brief area that like the person can see before actually opening the DMs,
Right.
put in something catchy that's eye-catching that they will force to open that.
Yeah.
That works 100% of the time.
Sweet.
Every guest I've ever...
Because everybody's afraid of like the bot. It's like you always get like the fake like accounts, and it even before you look at them, you kind of like get a sense of like, okay, this is like not a person. This is like some dumb like ad.
Yep. So what I say is just put in something that is reassuring yet getting to your idea. That it's enough information in those 4 or 5 words right there that will really make the difference for that person to either open it or they won't open it at all.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say Instagram only. I really like Twitter right now, and I definitely encourage you to
Yeah, I've been trying to
dig into
experiment
there.
a little bit.
And
Not so much the
Twitter's-
DMs though.
Twitter's just right. That's the thing.
That's
Twitter
hard.
doesn't need to be DMs
Yeah.
because like there's so many users that aren't on there anymore that like it's everyone who's on there is like cozy. Like you can just at people. Like it's to that level.
That's what I've been
And that's
trying
why
to
I
break
do like
into.
it.
Yeah.
So okay, let's say how about follow-up?
Follow-up's super important because everybody in this world, whether they want to admit it or not, is busy. And, you know, we live in a very, a world that's, your attention is taken away very quickly. And your attention span is only there for a couple of seconds. So let's say, this happens to me all the time because I have a lot of people that I want to reach out to or I got to reach out to, or things just get in the way. So let's say you DM me for a podcast, let's say, and I open it, but then I got this text message that took a little precedence over it because it's a project that I'm working on right now. So I have to answer this text message. And then I'm at work, so I got to go do my job. And I completely forget about what you said. It was no disrespect to you at all because I am interested in being on that. But because everything happened all at once, and then my attention got taken away back to the thing that I have to do, which is my job, I just forgot about it. I forgot about responding. So what I normally say is give it 5 to 7 days, a work week or a full week, and then hit it, respond again. If you saw that they've left you unseen.
I love seeing the scene.
Yeah.
I love
seeing the scene. Because at least you know that
scene.
somebody saw it.
Yeah.
Or that individual saw it. That's huge because that could either go one of two ways. One, they're either ignoring you and they're being an asshole. So whatever. They won't respond to the follow-up. The other way, however, they saw it and they forgot to, reach out. And so the follow-up works perfectly because it's like, hey, I don't know if that date didn't work for you, but what about this date or that date? And if they're like, oh my God, sorry, like I totally forgot to like respond to you. The first date was fine. Like, let's do it June 14th. Oh, okay, cool. Like, I'll see you then. So not only do you provide other options for future dates that probably won't even matter because they were initially going for the first date, you use it in a way that's not annoying or not pestering, but open to letting them know that, hey, like you're welcome on here. You're
Being
welcome
flexible
in this area.
and keeping that conversation going.
Yes, that's the most important part is keeping the conversation going. You know, nobody wants to be DM'd and was like, yo, like, what am I trying to say? Add value to however you can to that individual. What do they not have that you see that you can input? And that's how like a creative networking begins. Trying to add value to what they are currently lacking. So if it's a podcast, you created a platform for people to come on. That's value right there. Now, different eyes are seeing that, that might follow us are seeing yours, or different eyes that follow you now are seeing ours. It's value in and of itself through listens or likes or comments. And nonetheless, it's still value because it's expanding an audience to see the product that we put out.
Absolutely. I really like that answer, that key piece of adding value. Not enough people do that because we're in a very selfish place of I want you to do this for me. Like, this is how you can help me. And
exactly.
That's just such a key piece of collaboration, is presenting people with information or something helpful where you can help them.
Exactly.
And that's how you
my
move
big
ahead.
thing is this thing I call is the left, right jab.
Oh,
Give. Now I'm gonna ask for something.
Right.
Because
I've heard of that from Gary Vee specifically.
Yeah, that's
him?
where I learned. That's where I learned the whole left from, and it's all right. I gave. Now they're gonna be like, wow, this dude just wants to see me win or something like that, and then I'm gonna ask for something. They're gonna be more reluctant to provide that.
Right.
Everybody.
It's the least I could do.
Exactly. Everybody wants handouts nowadays. Nobody really wants to work for anything. So instead of being yo, jump on or let me get that cover art. Well, what can I do for what do you provide that I can get?
Exactly.
Try to add value. And in doing so, not only do you develop a networking, but you could also develop a friendship. And that could help you in more ways than you can ever think, because it's helped me develop this podcast into something that I never thought could be, because I was just simply kind with people that developed a network, and then I became genuine friends with them.
That's beautiful, man. And I really enjoy your guys' content, and I want you guys to keep going, because you're onto something special, and it's just mind-boggling, right? I think the creative space in Massachusetts, especially Western Massachusetts where we are, needs an aggregation. It needs the one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on.
Yep.
There's all the little circles of all the people we mentioned, and we talked about it before the podcast started, oh, I know more about this group and less about this group. I know this person and not this person. But I think that's the value of, if somebody on the outside or the inside is feeling well, I want to learn about it, to have that place of oh yeah, you just scroll down your guys' podcast feed through the seasons, and it's it's all right there.
It's a wide variety.
It's
of
all right
everything,
there.
Everything you could ever find.
It's and if you really want to take the time to go through it, that's when you just learn everything. And I'm really glad that you guys gave me the advice on some other podcasts to check out, because I was getting in the rut of I was just listening to the ones of people who are already my friend.
Yeah.
Which is well, I already know the answers and all this stuff. So venturing out. But I think the next topic I want to go on is marketing the podcast. And you made it, and now what do you do to market? And I want to hear from Brad. What are your guys' thoughts around that?
So as far as marketing a podcast, first, something that's what we've had to learn to do is look at the podcast as a business first and foremost. So in the beginning stage of the podcast, like Devin was saying earlier, learning to work with someone. So myself, I like to work by myself, specifically with creative tasks. So working with someone else was kind of a challenge that I needed to go through, and I'm glad I did go through. So, if you have one specific idea, because remember, back to the names conversation, we both have, just from a creative outset, we have a different approach to things. So, it actually helps out. In the beginning, it's kind of hard to mesh, because you're kind of why won't this person think the way I think? But just within a part of growth, you're kind of okay, this person's trying to get to the same goal that I'm trying to get into. So, all right, let me listen to this person more often. So, we kind of went into that, and now we're both pretty much learning marketing ourselves visually pretty much at the same pace. So it's just really okay, I hear you on this, but look at this from my angle. So we both have enough trust in each other on each end now to where we're like, okay, I see what you're saying with this, but here's why I think we should go with my decision. So the back and forth between that end gets a lot easier. So then you end up coming in, like right now, we're pretty much, if we had to explain like the season aspect of the show, it's pretty much first season was a pilot, second season we're kind of starting to like figure out what works, and the third season is just about to be like, that's it, like this is it.
We got drafted.
Yeah.
It's game time.
Yeah. So when started marketing the podcast, that's how we try to treat it. So from everyone we sit down them for a very specific reason, because we hold them in such high regard. So we want to treat the podcast as such. So it's only right for us to project the same amount of effort into our work. If we're gonna have you in and talk to you with your work, because that's the only way we'd feel comfortable. I know Devin sort of the same way with this. It's like I respect your work so much that I want to make sure the platform that I want to present you on is on its shit. You know what I mean?
It reflects that.
Yeah. So like when you present this to people that you may deem important, it won't look like a wasted effort on your end. You know what I mean? Because again, speaking with so many creatives and figuring out like more of the business aspect for them, it's like this isn't a game anymore. You know, like my time is money. My time is worth something. So if I'm gonna be a part of something, it's an investment on my end, investment of time, resources in some cases. So it's an investment on their end. So we respect that. So there's pretty much another end that goes into our marketing, making sure that, especially Devin, like handles the social media aspect of everything. I just make it, he makes it visible, and then we tweak as we go based off the responses that we get off of it. So, like, yo, I cooked this up. Let's see what it is. It's like artist and label almost. It's kind of dope.
And so, yeah, talk to me about your feedback and some of the things that have been valuable within that.
So the feedback internally, it's like, you probably mean externally, right? Like the
external, right? Yeah. Like people that are listening in and coming and saying how they feel about it.
So internally, I'm never satisfied.
Yeah.
Never satisfied.
Neither am I.
I listen back to every episode we put out, and I'm like, why didn't I say that? Why did I say this?
Okay.
How can I improve that? Internally, I want to make, just Brad is a phenomenal graphic designer. Phenomenal. Like the latest picture he did with Susboy Darius, and we put it out, it blew my mind. And then I'm scrolling down like the page that I run, and I was like, I'm not satisfied with this, not with this, not with this. I think that holds myself to a higher standard, but it holds the product to a higher standard, and it holds Brad to that high standard as well. Because if we don't hold ourselves to high standards, then we're never going to put out the product that we deem successful.
Yeah.
Or worthy enough to be listened to by other people. So why are people going to waste their time and sit down with us for an hour if we don't even hold our product in that high regard?
Yeah.
Right.
And like the standards change because that's another good thing. We're working with another person. When another person lulls in a certain area, you're able to pick them up. So if it's like back and forth, because we're human, like we get in lulls and things of that nature. There's times where you got to tell that person like, yo, shit, we all got problems, bro. Like, just keep it that straight with each other. Keep it straight with each other. Like,
Brad told me that last week. He really did.
Nah, but that's because he's done the same thing for me. So like he's adjusting to a new job, new things, like things that I've gone through. So like I'd feel like a fucked up friend if like I see him going through the same thing I was going through and tell him like, yo, it don't get no easier, dog.
It only gets worse from here.
Welcome to the game.
Literally.
Welcome to the game. But even like say like starting out where it's just like getting into season 2, it's like Devin told me like, yo, if we're gonna do this, we gotta go way harder than we did before. And I respect it. I'm like, yo, definitely. That was like, it's not a question. And so, like I said, working with someone who has the same goals as you, it's like you don't have to be in sync 100% of the time. You're always gonna be matching each other. So it's almost like internally, it's like we were speaking with Lagoon, like the episode we just put out today. If you haven't listened to that one, shout out to you. Make sure you listen to that one. That episode, speaking with all three of those guys and the way they work with
Lagoon is a group.
Yes,
yeah,
Lagoon is a group.
Lagoon's a rap group out of Chicopee. It's 3 dudes. 2 of them are rappers. One's a producer.
Yeah.
Their work is incredible, but them as individuals are just the drive is there. You can see the passion. You can see everything, and they all work together so in sync that it's. How they came about was like crazy. I don't want to spoil the episode, so you got to go listen to it.
Shout out to Ty, Kudo, and Salute. Shout out to those guys.
The light on now. Let's get a little... I'd definitely check that one out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're going to stagger this one a little bit. So hopefully by the time people see this, they'll kind of know already.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, it's like just working with each other, and like Devin was just saying, like making sure we hold each other to that standard. And but externally, to answer your question, like as far as like the feedback that we're getting, the feedback we've been getting is phenomenal. And not only that, the people that we've met, like I was saying before, meeting people that are about the same age. Yeah, like
it leaves me speechless.
Like people that we look up to, you know what I mean? Looking at our work and saying like, you guys have something, like we believe in this product with you guys. So it's like
it's insane.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have someone on who's like a dating app founder, and that was because of a friendship with someone else. And he lives in Canada. He's like gonna come to the studio and everything.
Wow.
And I'm like,
trips,
bro. Like,
but
how?
not just those people. People like Chris Joel, Tiana Ray.
Oh yeah.
Like people like
Christian Apia, just the people.
Pasto, Conan.
Yeah.
Everybody. So
Hedricks, everybody.
So everybody.
Austin.
Everybody that we come into contact with, we kind of like hold in that regard. Because like I said, like
there's so many people we haven't mentioned that I just feel bad. But
it's
every single guest.
Right.
DK.
Holy
shit.
guests.
How do we
Oh,
forget
shit. Shout out
DK?
DK. Yeah.
Yo, shout out DK
But,
and Cam Randall. DK is the fucking like nicest human being I've ever met in my entire life.
It's facts, yo. That's a fact.
He wants people to win before he wins.
Also in the Lagoon episode, so make sure you check.
Oh
it
yeah,
out.
that's in the Lagoon
Cam
one
Randall one too. But
and Cam Randall.
his episode was great. But like I was saying, like literally, because like I was saying before, like this culture is very interesting to me. Like I feel like I'm a part of the culture. Not like that was the goal, but just looking at everything, just kind of like, okay, like I was saying before, like especially this music, hip hop music. You're like, oh shit, it's never been this popular. Let's see why it's this popular. So meeting with these people who are in a part of it, and like they want to be a part of it for a long time, you kind of like, oh shit, man, like that's dope as fuck. Like, let's talk to you.
The fact that people just take time out of their day to listen to a product that me and Brad like create still blows my mind every single time I see the plays. Like he was saying, the external feedback has been like absolutely incredible. I've never once in my entire time creating this thought that people would hold this in high regard as we hold it. And maybe that's just because we put so much respect on it, and we see it as such a thing that, you know, it could really elevate every single person who's on the podcast, because if one of them wins, it's a trickling effect. Like someone else will pull off. Like it would just like that's what it's set up to be.
You follow these people after the fact, and situations change. They have their wins, and it's like, wow.
Now people are
like,
trying to find the backs. Like it's so intricately set up that like everybody on that is eventually gonna win.
Right.
They'll all find their thing if they already haven't.
Yeah, these individuals, like, they're on a path that not too many people follow, or people have the desire to follow but don't really follow through with. So being around these people, you pick up a lot. You know, not like things that you wouldn't pick up at university. You know what I mean? It's
true.
It's things that only life can teach you. So you appreciate it.
And I think there's this element right now of like creating your own job in a sense. This idea of there's a lot more kids now doing something that no one else is doing, and you know, there's no roadmap to from where they are to what's next, and it's kind of just like gets to be whatever they want, and that's like really interesting too, because you see somebody, you see what they're doing their thing, and then it turns into something, and literally no one knew what it was going to turn into.
Yeah, and that's the fun with this. Like, we started this in my college dorm room.
Yeah.
And, like, we went out to LA to podcast. And
right.
we have plans of going, like, different places, too. But, like, never would I've ever thought that. Like, never would I ever thought, like, the success would be, like, at this level. And we have so many things that, like, we're not going to talk about, but, like, that are going to happen. And, like, never in a million years would I ever thought, like, I'd be doing this here. Like, I don't know. It just blows my mind.
Very well. I want to talk about kind of like other podcasts And so is there any other podcast that you listen to or like really just like look up to in terms of mentorship? Like I watch a lot of like Adam 22, so that's somebody that gives me a lot of inspiration, and I have a lot of ideas off of his work. Is there anybody like that for you guys?
You want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of the Joe Budden podcast. I think what they're doing over there is phenomenal. I think what they're doing over there is represent a culture and a light that we've never seen before, really. So you got a perspective, age group, and subject matter from like 3, 4, 5. Well, you can get everyone in that room, everyone's perspective, but it's super. It's complex enough. Like they're nuanced. They're really nuanced and complex people because that's what people are. So they don't have like the same opinions on everything, but they're best friends. So like when you're with your best friends, you're not exactly the same. You guys have a lot of things in common. You may have a lot of things in common with them, but you're not the exact same. So like the way certain friends treat each other are different. But this one is kind of like reminds you of like, or for me, it reminds me of me and my friends. So that's why I enjoy listening to it. But that one I like a lot. Desus and Mero, I think they're a hilarious duo. I listen to them. What else? I listen to Bomani Jones' podcast. Been a fan of his for a bit because he just makes sense. Another thing with the podcast that people might not really know or understand, but holding long form conversations, it's something that's a skill.
Oh, 100%.
So I like those people, they make it look really easy. So you kind of go internal like, oh, that's kind of why I said yes. So go like, I was going to be talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more than that because you have to be able, you're communicating not with the other person. You don't have to worry about the other person really understanding you because you got body language, you have eye contact. The person probably knows you. So when you speak to them, you don't have to put that much effort into it. But with a podcast, you have to speak clearly. And you have to be able to make your point in a timely fashion. You have to be able to speak, enunciate your words, things like that. So that's something that, like, for me, I was just like, because truth be told, I speak like kind of like this all the time. You know what I mean? Like really lazily, like slowish kind of. I talk like this because this is just my comfortable tone. But during the podcast, you gotta enunciate more. You gotta like breathe and shit. Like it's weird, but
there could almost be a school for it because
journalism
it's
school.
Similar to acting in a sense of like you could be coached and directed on how to podcast.
Oh yeah, 100%
easily.
And that was like one of Brad's big things in season 1. Like our first episode, we only like when we like pre-did it before we like redid it. It was like 25 minutes, I think, because we didn't really know what else to talk about. We got to a point where like, yeah, we're gonna stop right now because like we don't know what to talk about. But yeah, it's just learning how to develop that. But to get to your question, I listen to like Joe Rogan Experience.
Okay,
I like that a lot. I love how
that one. I was just watching the Wiz Khalifa one 2 nights ago.
Yeah, that was a great
one.
I love that. I'm a big fan of Joey Diaz, so whenever he brings him on,
Is that a boxer?
No,
athlete?
Comedian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he used to do MMA, right? Is that the guy, Joey Diaz?
No, I'm not sure. He's like
the big dude, yeah,
Cuban from New York.
Yeah, he used to fight in the UFC, I think, but Joe got him out of that. That's when I used to watch Joe Rogan a little bit too. Yeah, it's a good podcast.
Not a podcast, but I always watch it a lot. Is The Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
because I pick up on skills that like I don't know, Envy or Charlemagne or Angela. I'll like put out, and I try to replicate that in like
and they're great at the journalism part.
Oh,
of
100%.
Like getting the scoop, getting the headline out of it, and like, I think manipulating has like a negative connotation, but like they manipulate the interview in a good way.
Yeah, that's what we've learned. You're the one that's leading the interview, right? You got to create that path so the other person can follow. And that's what we had to learn. And like I say, right now, we're pretty good. We're probably over the 50%, or like 65%.
We decent, so we got work to do.
Yeah, there's always work to be done. But we've gotten over the hump of, okay, we know what we're doing now, so let's take this into our own hands.
Right. Have fun with it, because the process part is now getting second nature.
Yeah.
So you can like dial in on some of this other stuff.
Yeah, crazy. It gives you time to focus on it. I forgot. Yeah, I don't even look at it like that no more. But yeah, that's
Me neither. Now we just sit down. We call it bet mode. So when I wake up, I always text Brad. I'm like, "Yo, be at the studio at this time." He's like, "I will." I always hit him a bet, meaning that like I'm always I'm in the mood. I'm fired up and I'm ready to get these interviews going.
Oh, that's funny.
And so like we did one on a Friday. He's like, "Yo, is bet mode gonna show up?" And all I hit was bet, and like that's what we call it.
He knows
we like
what's up.
Yeah, we get into this zone. We get into this role because we know exactly what we're doing, and we've gotten to the point where we've done so many of these that like we know what we want the message to be at the end of the day, and we're gonna take it down that road because we know the quality that we want to put out. So
Tight.
bet.
Bet. That's. I
Bet,
like that.
bet.
I might use that in the title line of this video.
Yo, I would lose it. That'd be hilarious.
I only have a couple more questions actually. What is like for each of you, like the dream interview, like the real one that you're like,
I was just thinking about
like,
this.
that you want to get to, that you think is gonna kind of just like change, just like what a big interview does is like takes it to the next level. What's that interview for you guys? I'll start because it looks like you're both kind of thinking, but I think you have a couple answers. But I really want to do Token, who's the Eastern Mass rapper who's been like touring in Europe lately and stuff, and he just has a really big he has the type of fan base where he's allowed to tour without getting that much press. And I think there's like that. I think there's just a lot of people who want to watch an interview with him, even though he's done a couple Sways in the Morning already.
Nice. I love that. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Yeah? All right. So of all time, the one that I really, really want would be Childish Gambino, Donald Glover.
Sure.
That man does everything, and he's like one of my biggest inspirations in life.
I mean, he could do 5 interviews because it's like you could interview him about each piece of his life, which he's like excelled at.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like I'd want to talk to him about Atlanta for like an interview.
100%.
We wouldn't even talk about music.
Yeah. Like this would be a 5. But my other person that I really want, mine's a tie, is this dude named Charlie Jabalin.
Okay.
He used to be 2 Chainz manager.
Yeah.
And the night after they won the Grammy for that Chance the Rapper song, No Problems.
Yeah.
He was 300 pounds at that time.
Wow.
And he quit. He quit the rap game. He made 15 mil that year as the manager and all that, and then he dropped it. He later found out that he had a brain tumor. And so as he was losing weight, the brain tumor was shrinking. So his idea was to lose weight, shrink the brain tumor, and run an Ironman race. He ended up doing that, and his story became so huge that he was featured in the Colin Kaepernick Nike ad. And so this dude is a bundle of just like spontaneous energy. He's good people, and his big thing is I'm on a winning streak. That means, count the small wins because small wins add up. So start with, getting every green light on the way to work, finding the parking spot closest to, the entrance to the grocery store. You get a text back from the person that you were waiting for, or somebody held the elevator for you. Those are 4 wins that add up because when you start looking for wins, the wins come. And so this dude changed my entire focus on how I look at things and look at, winning streaks and whatever, just everything. And that's somebody that I email him, so I need to slide in his DMs because the emails have not been working.
Right.
So that is somebody that I am dying to get on the podcast, and he will be on.
That would be tight.
He will be on. I'm saying that
tight.
right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Brad.
So for me, I got 2 people.
You're allowed to, yeah.
Yeah, so my first person would actually end up being, he's a rapper out of Connecticut. His name is Lonnie X.
Yes.
So the reason why I'm thinking more short term with this one, but I think that one would change a lot for not only for this podcast, but the way that Connecticut rap is viewed. So the reason why I'm using him specifically is because in my mind he is the most well known. So if there are any other CT artists listening to this, please don't get offended.
Or do get offended and hit them and make your case.
Make your case.
Yeah, I like that too.
Make
Yeah,
your
I'm up.
case.
My DMs
Actually,
are always open.
Yeah, make your case. But hear me out. So I've been following his music since he dropped that single Swerving, which might not even be a long time. I don't know when that album came out. But when I saw on the album cover, it had a photo of the Jerk Pit Cafe, which if you're not familiar with, it is on the north end of Hartford, Connecticut. Really great place. But yeah, photo of that, it was like the first time in rap I saw something that I had like, I have a connection to. Like, literally like, all right, I know this, I'm familiar with this, let me hear this artist. And we hear the artist, like, oh shit. Like, oh fuck, he can make it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like what Cousin Stiz did for Boston. He wasn't the first to do it, but kind of like that. Since he's been gone, when you go to like, or since he's made it out, when you go to Massachusetts, when we deal with Massachusetts arts and stuff like that, he's always the reference point.
He's the reference point.
He's the reference point. So I feel like for Connecticut, which is the state the size of Western Mass, I think if he were to blow up, I think we've had other people blow up. I'm not going to disregard those people's, but I think this guy's for like a different era. I think the one coming forward. So I think that's why I'm interested in speaking with him. The next person I would really like to interview is Currency. Currency is just, he's a dope dude. Like,
right. He's chill
dude.
as hell. But I definitely watched his Breakfast Club. I don't listen to him. He's just put out so much music. Like, I have not heard a fraction of it. Yeah. But he's incredible.
I just want to sit down with him only because the way he approaches business. So for him and his personal brand, he's spoken on it plenty of times. He said, I've had chances to sign multi-million-dollar deals and things of that nature, but it didn't fit with his character. What they wanted him to do did not fit with him, so he would not compromise. So, all right, cool. You won't give me this huge contract. I'll just keep making $100,000 a year. When you're not chasing the almighty Dollar Tree, there is so much freedom in that. So I want to interview him and talk to him about, because he's been at it for a while, since, I wonder if it was Master P. He was on Master P's label. Yeah, and then he was a he was a Cash Money? Because I know
he's around that.
He was around Cash Money, Young Money. Cash Money, he was with Cash Money, then Young Money, I believe. So he's gone through like a lot of different eras.
And obviously like being around Wiz and stuff.
And then being around
Taylor Gang.
Shit, and
paperwork wise.
All that, so 2009, of course. And then you got like him being around Dame Dash. That, even though that deal didn't work out, it's like, all right, Dame had to throw you some knowledge. Like, what game did Dame Dash give you? Shit, if I had a third, I've heard. Yeah, but yeah, it's like just the guy is so, and he mad cool and he like cars and I fuck with cars.
Right,
and weed and all that stuff. So it'd just be a dope ass conversation with him. That's all I would want to do. Just,
for sure.
Like, what gets you up in the morning? But yeah, that's a long form answer. Whew.
Incredible.
I said a lot.
I think that's a good place to end it. Well, actually, no. I'm gonna press you guys for one more answer, man.
Oh, man.
Go for it.
One outside of the interview goals. What's like one more goal for the podcast, like 5 years down the road? One more goal. Shit. This is it in 5 years.
This is it. Festival.
Calling it. What does a festival look like?
A festival looks like 3 days of blood clot fun. We're gonna make this shit live, yo. If Tyler the Creator can do it, so can I. Goddamn it. You with me, Devin?
Yes.
All right, but
are you done? Keep on.
I'm done. Yeah, that's gonna be a fact. But that's a fact.
Cool. That's cool. 3 days. That's a lot of festivals.
It's like OVO Fest.
Right.
Listen, there's too much talent in this area for now.
That's the thing. 3 days is covered.
For me, I was talking to Brad about this. I want This Is It to kind of be like what OVO represents.
Okay.
To Canada. I want This Is It to represent that. And underneath have This Is It be an umbrella. And then underneath it have different things that people wouldn't necessarily think about. And have those things represent certain things for different individuals. So
what's one piece of that doesn't exist now that you guys are kind of working on, kind of zeroing in on?
Oh, radio.
Radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. give equal opportunity to underground artists where they can come on, play music from like different people, and then have them talk about like their thing for about a half an hour, and then just like a standard radio interview and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but,
and weren't you involved in college radio?
Nah.
No.
Okay.
But shout out to Og. He was he had his own. He was working at WGBY at the moment, but
Akil.
Akil. But he did work over at UMass with the radio station. So definitely learned a lot from him. But yeah, we want to create a platform where everyone can eat from. So bringing that radio aspect would just be another layer to this.
Yep.
To this project, this endeavor. So getting artists in, like Devin was just saying, like playing the music, exclusive things of that nature, because we kind of do it on the podcast itself. So we want
but we can't showcase it the amount that we really want to. I always say this to Brad: if there's an opportunity to expand into where other people can eat, then let's do it, because that's only going to help us in the long run. But I'm not trying to be famous. I want to be well off. I want to be comfortable. But I want to try to make someone else's life better. I want to improve their life, and if giving them an opportunity to oversee this or that or whatever the case may be does that, then that's what I'm trying to do. Like I say all the time, if I eat, Brad eats. If Brad eats, I eat. If we both eat, everyone eats. And that's what this is. It represents.
That's the spirit of it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us. We love this.
A really dope talk, and I think there's a lot of just like valuable knowledge about, everybody pretty much has something that they want to go for. So I think this stands as like motivation and then like a really good entry point too. So I hope you guys are listening. This has been the Organized Sound Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we're signing out.